I'm a little somber today because I'm going to have to sit through a therapy session with Nico today. We're talking about the Jets, as you can tell. And, I mean, it's been bad. It's been bad. This is coming after Le'Veon Bell has been cut. Yes, he got cut. Le'Veon Bell has been cut. I never thought I'd hear that. If you said Le'Veon Bell would be cut by a team 5 years ago, you'd be called insane, but here we are. Here we are. Le'Veon Bell is a Kansas City Chief. I'm just going to let that, sit in your head a little bit. Le'Veon Bell is a Kansas City Chief. Andy Reid has Le'Veon Bell. Yes. Just that's going to be, if they use him right, that they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't care. But this is about the Jets. This is about Le'Veon Bell. It's not about the Jets. But Nico, I mean, your team, the New York Jets, playing in North Jersey. They have not had a good time this year. They have not won a single game. Sam Darnold has been out. Again, Joe Flacco is now the starting quarterback of the New York Jets for the short term. Joe Flacco, the elite man himself. And I think if you just sat there and listened to what we're saying about this Jets, you can just tell it's a dumpster fire. Yeah, it is the biggest dumpster fire franchise ever. I besides like Cleveland and Detroit, it's Cleveland, Detroit, the Jets. I can't really say anything else, but they drafted Sam Darnold. They haven't drafted well at all in the past decade and a half. There's just been nothing positive about the Jets except that one year they beat the Patriots in the playoffs with Mark Sanchez at quarterback. I mean, but this past decade, pretty bad. Nico, how are you feeling right now? What do you got?
Well, first, I want to congratulate the Chiefs on a very, very good pickup. Don't be fooled. And for the Le'Veon Bell situation, it's pretty obvious to me that a lot of teams think he's talented because think about this. The three teams that were interested in him were the Dolphins, who played the Jets twice a year, the Bills, who played the Jets twice a year, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs. So you're talking about a team in the Chiefs that is a Super Bowl team with a Super Bowl coach, with a Super Bowl quarterback, with weapons all over the place, and you have two teams. And think about it. The Patriots called about him. Bills, Dolphins. He plays those teams the most. They've seen the most out of him in the past year, so clearly there's something left in him. But I mean, like, for the Chiefs to get him for free, now they have him and Edward Tolaire running their backfield. I mean, that was a great pickup. But this is the Jets for you. They went out and they tried to get a guy like Le'Veon Bell, who at the time I was a little skeptical about, but then I was like, you know what? If you have a young quarterback like Darnold, you have to surround him around talented players, and that's what they did. And then Gase just forgot that Le'Veon Bell exists, doesn't know how to use him. I mean, and it came down to last year against the Bengals when you're playing against the worst run defense in football, and Sam Darnold throws the ball 50 times. Le'Veon Bell doesn't even get 25 touches in that game. Like that is just the epitome of what went down.
There's just nothing. I mean, we're going to get into Adam Gase as this goes along and his ineptness. That's a big word that you've been using, Nico, inept. Yeah. That is how you sum up the Jets. I think I saw somewhere that Le'Veon Bell's longest rush as a Jet, 19 yards.
Yeah, that's
they don't use the guy. They don't know how to use him. I'm just trying to find this on Twitter right now. I'm probably not going to find it, but I mean,
it was 19 yards.
Yeah, it was 19 yards. I don't know why they never used him. He came in, they signed him to a huge contract for a running back. He didn't get as much money as he wanted, but
he still got 4 years.
He still got 4 years. He got, I don't even know how many millions it was, but it was ridiculous. It was just a huge. It was like it was the biggest signing of all of free agency was the Jets getting Le'Veon Bell
and Mosley, but
yeah,
Le'Veon Bell was the
who both signed with the Jets. And where are they now? Nowhere. They're nowhere to be found. This is the Jets for you. That free agency class was like, okay, maybe the Jets are going somewhere. There's a positive direction. Young quarterback who has a lot of potential.
Coach. Well, we knew the coach.
We thought it was a decent coach. We thought it was a decent offensive coach at the very least.
Yeah.
But he's. I mean, this channel has been basically an Adam Gase hate club at this point, but that's also been the New York Jets. So, I mean, every Jets fan would agree with us in saying Adam Gase is one of the worst coaches we've seen in the past 50 years. It's just.
And for Gase, I mean, I guess we're gonna get into his inept garbage right now.
Yeah.
This year, as a play caller, the Jets' offensive ranks: points 32nd, passing offense 32nd, total yards 31st, first downs gained 32, red zone efficiency 32nd, scoring margin is 32nd, points per play is a 32nd, yards per attempt is 32nd, touchdowns scored 31st, yards per play again is 31st, punts per play is 31, time of possession 30th, third down efficiency 28th, and rushing is 22nd, but his running backs average 3.4 yards per carry.
Translation, that's not good.
That's not good.
I mean,
that is
and then you look at all the other
bad.
players that have come out of this. I mean, Robbie Anderson. He has 227 yards after the catch first, 118 reception yards after contact first.
He's like third. I believe he's second or third, or maybe he's top 5 in
Yeah,
receiving.
yeah, he's one of the best receivers in football right now, and he was a mediocre receiver with Adam Gase. I mean, look at Devontae Parker after he left Miami. The list goes on and on of people that have left Adam Gase and have been elite players, going from mediocre to elite.
Now. And I know Tannehill's, I know people give him a lot of slack, but
yeah,
his past 17 games, he has a touchdown interception ratio of 36-7. That is
he has Mahomes numbers.
36-7 touchdown interception over 16 games is like, you can make an argument that's an MVP.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. And the Titans are undefeated. They haven't lost a game. I was wrong about them so far. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs this year. But, I mean, they look good. Ryan Tannehill looks good. That team is built.
Adam Gase ran all his best players out of this team. Think about it.
Yeah.
You'd say a lot of things about the Jets and their drafting, which has been putrid. They hit on a couple good things. They hit on Jamal Adams, and he ran him out. He literally drove Jamal crazy. He drove him crazy. You draft a guy like Darnold, and what happens? He takes, he moves one step forward, takes 3 steps back with this guy.
Yeah.
He makes a great play, and then it's ridiculous. And you watch these games. Adam Gase quits on his team whenever they get into a little controversy on during the game, comes down, quits on his team, and then the best part is 2 weeks ago, he doesn't have a play on 4th and 7 when you're down in the fourth quarter. You don't have a play? You don't have a play?
You should be running that in practice constantly.
You don't have a play?
Not even a play.
I don't understand. And the best part is the owner comes out and says he's a brilliant offensive mind. What's been brilliant?
Nothing. I mean, you can say the talent hasn't been good, and it hasn't. Like, he hasn't had much to work with, but you have to make the most of what you got.
But you have to, if you look at this team, and this what I'm about to bring into has to do with the GM as well. You go into this year, right? You say, okay, you have Darnold. You drafted Mims out of Oregon, out of Baylor. I mean, he's hurt. Yeah. Of course, what's new?
Yeah.
How don't you keep Robbie Anderson? How? How? That's Sam's that's his favorite receiver. How? Because this year you could have been okay, fine. You have Anderson, you have Mims, and you have Crowder. Not the best, but again, that's you have two
usable.
You have 2 professional wide receivers. You have a professional running back in Leveon Bell, who by the way, as bad as he was last year, he still had a total of 1,200 scrimmage yards in total. Considering with Adam Gase, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
So which means Bell is still usable, which means Bell could still play. Yes, I agree, he's lost a step, but that doesn't mean he still can't rush for 1,000 yards. He rushed for 800 yards, and they didn't even like him last year. But, the upper management has not been good. They drafted Mekhi Becton. He's hurt. He's good. He's hurt. Mims hasn't played. Ashton Davis looks like 3rd-round pick. You traded Leonard Williams for a 3rd-round pick. I agree. I would have done it too. You draft Ashton Davis when you need a receiver. You don't pay Jamal Adams, who's arguably the best safety in football right now.
Yeah.
This team in the 2020 class, it was a wide receiver deep class. You got 1.
Yeah.
1. Okay.
And the one is hurt.
They got 1 wide receiver who's hurt, right? And then they drafted a quarterback in the 4th round. You picked up Joe Flacco anyways. You could have used that on a receiver. They drafted a running back in Piron in the 3rd round. He doesn't get used. Idoga they got from Florida in the 3rd round. The defensive end, he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And you look at this team going into ending last year. If they had the right coach in place, you have a good coach, a young quarterback who's mobile enough. He can throw the ball decently enough. You have Le'Veon Bell, Crowder, Anderson. You draft a receiver. You amp up the O-line a little bit. I mean, you have a decent team, but you shouldn't be 0-5.
Yeah.
Think about it. Now they're going to trade. They're going to trade Mosley. Who knows what they're going to do with him because he's hurt all the time.
They'll probably cut him too.
Contract. Who's going to want him? Avery Williamson came back and he's starting to play well. Again, that wasn't even a Joe Douglas pick. That was a McCagnon move.
Yeah.
I mean, you traded Adams. You have Marcus May, who's good. Desir looks like he's, I don't know, that this was supposed to be your big free agent corner signing. And, they did, like, you could say a lot of things about Darnold, but they did him wrong. Like, they started doing him wrong the day that they got Adam Gase.
Yeah.
Because, you had a guy like, and I know McCarthy isn't, but he's better than Gase. And you could say a lot of things about McCarthy. And I know his defense is terrible this year. But that offense is very good. And I can tell you McCarthy would have been much better for Darnold than Adam Gase.
Anybody would have.
Anybody would have. And now you're looking at – now they're blowing up the whole thing. And I don't even know if they're even doing that right. I mean, I don't know.
No,
it's hard.
They're not. But if you cut Le'Veon Bell, you're not doing it right. You have to at least get a draft pick out of him. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, I guess it's a contract or whatever, but they didn't even try. They didn't even call. I don't even think they called teams and said, "Hey, we have Le'Veon Bell. What do you want? What would you give us for him at least?" Or there's no plan with the Jets right now. I just don't see a path towards success at this point. I just see a path towards dumpster fire. It's just bad. And where does this leave Sam Darnold? That's my thing. You have this dumpster fire of a franchise with no future. Yeah.
This is to Sam Darnold, who, by the way, is not going to be on my team next year.
He will not.
I'm very disappointed, but you know what? I hope you go to a team like San Francisco. I hope you go to a team like Pittsburgh. And honestly, if you went to the Patriots, I'd laugh so hard to watch Belichick just develop you and just kill the Jets more than they need. Because he's going to go to a team like San Francisco. Because, competent teams like San Francisco and, Pittsburgh want him because, he's workable. And, he's going to go start at San Francisco, and then he's going to start throwing touchdowns. And the Jets are going to be like, wow, we could have had him. Look,
yeah,
I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be good. But I can tell you this. If you screw up on the coach and you screw up on getting him guys around him, it's going to be Darnold all over again. Because he's coming from Clemson where he's given everything. Best offensive line, best weapons, best coach, arguably. But top 2, 3 in everything, every category you can think of. You have to do that same thing. They better get this coaching hire right, because if they don't, they're going to be with another Darnold project with Lawrence, and Darnold's going to be somewhere else doing what he does. But I don't know. If there's no good if no good coach comes in, like what's going to change?
Nothing. Nothing at all is going to change.
And you talk about, like, and I know like all Jet fans are like, Lawrence is just going to come in and he's going to be, he's just going to answer all our problems. The offensive line still sucks.
Yep.
You think about it, this is a team that traded away their franchise quarterback's favorite receiver. They didn't even attempt. They lowballed him so hard. He took a 2-year, $20 million contract. And then he was crying about it. He wanted to work out. Michael Irvin came out and said that Robbie Anderson called him the day that he left the Jets and was crying because he was lowballed so hard and wanted to work out so bad. This man wanted to be on their team, and they still just let him go. It's ridiculous.
He was basically the best player besides Jamal Adams at the time, and you just let the guy walk. The guy had plenty of potential. He was a great long threat receiver.
Wasn't old.
Yeah, he was not old. Now look at him in Carolina, balling out.
A lot of money. Clearly did not want a lot of money.
No, he wasn't the most expensive signing. And then Carolina said, "Okay, we'll get you. We'll treat you right." And he's playing like a top 15 receiver at the moment. I mean, he's playing great. So this is just the Jets. This is just Adam Gase, and I don't know why Adam Gase has not been fired.
But you know what? At this point, I've come to the point. I can't even blame Gase no more because it stems from the top.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a team, by the way, that the way that they operate is they have their coach report to their owner and their GM report to their owner. That leads to backstabbing. That leads to miscommunications, which means the coach does not report to the GM, the coach reports to the owner, and the GM reports to the owner.
So they all report to the owner.
But they don't report to each other. The coach should be reporting to the GM, and the GM report to the owner.
Correct.
So Adam Gase can directly go behind Joe Douglas's back and say, I don't want, because he did it with McCagnon. He did it with McCagnon. And speaking of McCagnon, this is a team that in 2018, they fired Bowles. Agreed. They kept McCagnon. Fine. You let him spend money in free agency, draft your 2019 draft, and then you fired him in June.
It just doesn't make sense. This whole miscommunication is how Le'Veon Bell got signed in the first place.
Exactly. So,
because if they had actual communication, Adam Gase would have said, "I don't want this guy."
If they would have communicated, if they had like a real, the way it really should be ran, he would have went to the GM and said, "I don't want this guy."
Yeah.
Not, they don't have any.
Or the GM would have called Adam Gase and said, "Hey, I'm interested in signing Le'Veon Bell. What do you think?"
There you go.
And then Adam Gase would have said, "I'm not going to be able to use this guy the way that you think I am because he doesn't fit in my plan, my offense." And then the owner probably would have fired him. But I mean, does it make sense?
And then the owner comes out and says, "Oh yeah, he's a brilliant offensive mind." Okay, I mean, and then then they bring up, well, he was 7-9 last year. Who cares? This was a team that had Mosley, Adams. Their defense was excellent last year. It was top 10, but that's the only reason why they were 7-9. Their offensive ranks were in the bottom 5 and everything, and then they still failed to get any weapons. Like
they didn't do anything.
They just forgot how to use Bell. Like it was like he didn't want him there. Like, and then, but again, this stems from ownership. There's a reason why Belichick was was supposed to be the head coach of the Jets. He said no because of the Johnson brothers. That's literally why he said no.
Yeah.
And now, look at Belichick, and look at us. They drafted Sanchez in 2009 with the 5th pick. They absolutely failed him. They didn't know how to put guys around him. And then the whole Rex thing happened, and then the Todd Bowles thing was just a disaster. The first year he goes 10-6. He blows the game in Buffalo in Week 17, and then this is a coach. The team came out and said they weren't prepared for a winner go home game, and you keep that guy.
How are you not prepared for a winner go home game? This is the National Football League.
Darrelle Revis came out and flat out said we were not prepared to play Buffalo in Week 17. We were talking about if they win that game, they go to the playoffs. You weren't prepared.
The playoffs began that day, basically. That should be the mindset that this is the playoffs now. And it wasn't.
They weren't prepared. And then this is a team that in 2017, they gave Bowles a contract extension because he won 5 games.
Yeah.
Because they overachieved. So 5-11 is a contract extension.
That's overachieving in New York.
But this is the inept team I root for, and why I root for. I guess and then they say, well, what do the fans know? The dopey Jet fans. Well, we are dopey because we root for the Jets, but
yeah,
it's ridiculous. I can't. Man. You just keep you go.
Yeah. You gotta let it out. You gotta let it out. It's Jets. It's the Jets. It's pain. It's what it is. It's part of being a New Jerseyan. You're just like, why am I still here? Why am I still doing this? I should leave. I really should leave, but I'm still here. That's New Jersey. That's the Jets. It's just what it is. But you look at the ineptness of this franchise. I mean, my only problem, this is bad right now. It's nothing new for Jets fans, but it is an all-time low, in my opinion. The question is, what do you do from here? Like, what can you really do to fix this team?
This is my idea. Well, look, I have 2 ways of going about this.
Okay.
This would be my first way. Well, first of all, in every situation that I'm going to list, Gates needs to be fired.
Yes, 100%.
There's 2 options. This is option 1, and there's 2 options in this option. Now, I don't think the first option I'm going to lay down. I don't think this is going to happen. This is very unlikely. This is if they get the number 1 pick and they move on from the number 1 pick and stick with Don. You get a coach, hypothetically a Brady or an Arthur Smith or maybe a Bieniemy, and you just, Darnold's 23, and you're looking at him and you're like, well, if you get a guy like Arthur Smith from Tennessee, I think keeping Darnold might actually be the right idea because look what he did with Tannehill. Turned him around at 32 years old, so Darnold still has a chance.
I mean, the enemy works with Patrick Mahomes.
But exactly. Any offensive coordinator, a Joe Brady, who comes in and maybe says, all right, I'll give Darnold a chance. Let's trade the pick because let's be honest, this pick is going to get you 6 draft picks.
Yes.
You're going to get like 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, and maybe another second.
You have to.
You rebuild your team, and you go from there. The other option is you get that pick, and you call New Orleans. You say, we'll give you the number 1 pick if you give us Sean Payton. This is not happening. Not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. I'm just saying it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
This is the Darnold route. This is very unlikely to me, and I'm a Darnold fan. Sam, I hope you go to San Francisco, and I hope you show everybody what you are capable of because you are capable of many things. I hope Shanahan turns you around, or Tomlin, or maybe even Belichick. If Belichick did it, I would laugh. Yeah. It would be funny to watch Belichick come in and spite the Jets again with their young, supposed to be franchise quarterback that they screwed up and he turned around. I think he's going to San Francisco because he's from there, and I think that they're going to get like a 2nd-round pick out of him.
You have to assume the Niners move on from Jimmy Garoppolo as well.
I think that they're going to.
I do as well. I do too. I think it's happening.
And I think Darnold fits there, especially with all the weapons, good offensive line. They're still building. And Shanahan's a good coach.
Yes.
The Jets should have gotten Shanahan. They should have gotten Shanahan when they had the option to. But, hey, man, look.
Now he's one of the best coaches in the entire National Football League. So.
Now, this is the most likely situation that's going to happen. That Sam's going to get traded. I think it's going to be for a 2nd. If he plays well, maybe a 1st. If he could have a nice stretch down the season like he did last year, that 6-2 stretch he had, maybe they get a 1st. But I think it's going to be a 2nd.
I think it's Pittsburgh, to be honest.
Yeah, Pittsburgh sounds. I that's what I would think. Either Pittsburgh, San Francisco. Someone said Belichick.
Maybe New Orleans. Maybe.
I think Joe Douglas is smart enough to know that he's not going to make Darnold ruin him for the next. I think he's going to trade him out of the division.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is an option. The only reason why I say San Francisco could be more is because they're in the NFC.
Fair.
But I do think that he's going to one of those teams. Maybe Chicago, but I think San Francisco, Pittsburgh. Now what they're going to do is, I would think Gase is fired. But who knows? Let's assume. They're going to
pray.
Let's pray. They're going to bring in a Arthur Smith, Brady, Bieniemy. Maybe they're going to go the college route. Me personally, a thing to keep an eye out for. I personally, my number 1, if I had to list, I would go Harbaugh. I think that if Harbaugh has a bad season at Michigan, there is a chance he might be fired.
I think he should be fired if he does.
And I think the Jets would be smart to go in and get him. Maybe Urban Meyer, but Urban Meyer's health is a little. But if
it's iffy. He'll go to college before he goes to the NFL for sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess who the Jets would get, I do think it would be like a hot shot OC. So I think it's going to be an Arthur Smith, Bieniemy, or Joe Brady. So let's
Thank you for not saying Lincoln Riley, by the way. I hate that idea that he's leaving Oklahoma. No, he will never leave Oklahoma.
I don't think so.
No reason to.
I think they're going to get one of those guys, whoever they get. And what they have to do is they're going to draft Trevor Lawrence because at that point Darnold's gone.
Yep.
And, you're going to have to, with that 2nd-round pick, going to have to get another receiver. I mean, they're probably going to trade a couple guys for draft picks this year. Maybe get a 4th or a 5th out of Williamson. Do they trade Marcus May?
Maybe.
I personally like Marcus May. Bradley McDougall hasn't been good. You have the Seattle pick, so you're gonna have to. So you have the first. You have 2 firsts.
Yeah.
I think if there's a good offensive lineman, you got to take him. Definitely the Becton pick was good, but you got to get another one. And I'm not really sure how the free agency works, but I think that you got to get a couple more receivers. If you can't draft receivers, I think
there's got to be somebody.
And you got to go from there. But I'm not gonna lie to you, Joe Douglas. As much as I know a lot of Jet fans have a lot of faith in him. I've not been as impressed as everybody else is. I'm really not. I just think that he's been okay. But he's talking. They keep saying, "Oh, he wants to just dynamite the team and just restart." Which, okay, I get. Acquiring the draft picks from trading everybody away is not the hard part. It's picking out the talent you're going to replace them with those draft picks.
It's true.
And the thing is, I'm sorry, and I know you got a lot of draft capital, and I know a few months back I said maybe this will work. I'm starting to think they should have kept Jamal Adams. Those are the guys that you build around.
It's tough
It's
because
tough.
what's your long-term plan? Because at the end of the day, the goal is to win a Super Bowl, and you're not winning a Super Bowl within the next 10 years, right?
Now, I do think that got a lot for him. They got to they have to hit on draft picks like that.
Two
You
first
build,
rounders.
this isn't the NBA where you can just sign some free agents, or baseball just sign some free agents.
Yeah.
You build through the draft. You build through picking, and you build through. People forget this team leaving the 2019 season, coming into this year. And I know the team wasn't great, but they were good enough to be 7-9 with Adam Gase, so they couldn't have been that bad. And Mosley was hurt the whole year, and so they had their two starting linebackers in Williamson, who's played very well, actually played well, and Mosley. And Quinnen Williams was still figuring out. Quinnen Williams looks like an NFL player. Hasn't been as good as I thought he was, but he's getting there. He's at least showed that he's a competent NFL player.
Right.
You come into this season, Robbie Anderson should have been your number one sign for you have
priority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you're coming into this year, you're thinking, okay, you got Anderson, Mims, Crowder. Herndon looks like he's pretty good, even though now he looks like he's terrible. You signed Ryan Griffin. The offensive line, you got Becton, who when he was playing was rated like the highest rookie offensive tackle, so he looks like he's pretty good. You picked up guys in free agency from the O-line. Not that I thought those guys were going to be good, but I was thinking to myself, you know what? They may not be good, but Joe Douglas has the right idea.
Right.
Build through the offensive and defensive line. Sign guys. Even if they don't work out, at least you're showing me that you know what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, this year, going into this year, with one decent coach, you're probably looking at a team right now that's probably not 0-5. They're probably more around that 500 range, fighting for a wild card spot because there's 3 wild card spots. Because last year they were 7-9, and Sam Darnold didn't have a lot to work with, and your two best linebackers were out, and you still went 7-9, and you beat some good teams down the stretch. You beat a Oakland who was good at the time. You beat Pittsburgh, who I know didn't have a quarterback, but they were a competitive team. You beat good teams. They beat the Dallas team. And I know the ghost game happened, but, they beat some decent teams last year, and Darnold played not great, but he played good enough.
He did what he had to do.
He went 6-2 down the stretch. He was 7-6. They were 7-6 when Darnold was starting last year.
That team makes the playoffs with Eric Bieniemy.
That might be a playoff team this year with 3 wild card spots.
Yeah, with Eric Bieniemy, this team can make the playoffs.
I think with any competent coach, I think with Matt Rule, this team is pretty decent. Because you're seeing now with Rule how he's worked with Anderson. So you can only imagine what he could have done with Darnold and Anderson.
Yeah, this is all assuming the Jets would have kept Anderson, by the way.
Darnold are a little different, but what he's done with Bridgewater makes me believe that he could have done something good with Darnold.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a weird thing. It may be a little outlandish. I know that, well, you said Sean Payton, which is definitely possible, but it's a little out there.
I've heard. I don't know. Try it. I've probably heard this. Maybe
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's new. So you trade Darnold tomorrow for a second-round pick to Pittsburgh. You have Joe Flacco for the rest of the year. You're going to get the number 1 pick. You trade the number 1 pick.
With that is if they stayed. You never know with these players. They'll string off a win or two, and then
maybe. But
that's why I think that they should trade Darnold right away.
Right. I'm saying trade Darnold now for that purpose because he's not part of the future at this point.
I know that.
He's ruined as a Jet. As a Jet, he's ruined.
He's only 23. I think I still think that he has a good chance to be.
I just don't think it's with the Jets.
It's not with the Jets.
It's not with the Jets.
Unless some coach comes in, I think there's one chance with the Jets. He has a chance to be good. I think if they get the Tennessee offensive coordinator, after what I saw with Tannehill at 32 years old, I do believe if they get it and trade that pick, I think that there's a chance. But I don't think that they're keeping Darnold. I've come to that.
I don't see Darnold. Let's assume that they're not keeping Darnold. They trade him to Pittsburgh for a second-round pick. He becomes a top 10 quarterback, right? Let's just assume that happens.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You get the number 1 pick. You trade the number 1 pick. Maybe trade it down for Jamar Chase, but you trade it to someone who will give you a ton of draft capital. You saw what happened with Dak Prescott. He might not be a Cowboy next season. You give him all the money that he wants, and you sign Dak Prescott. You build a roster with those draft picks. You build a team around Dak Prescott. You pick up a receiver that may be named Jamar Chase. And you build your future around Dak Prescott.
I haven't heard this one, actually.
I just thought of it now.
How old is
That's
Dak?
assuming Dak wants to go there, by the way. I doubt he would. This is also your
This
head
is
coach would
assuming the
be
Cowboys
your head
don't.
coach would be Eric Bieniemy, by the way.
Yes, and this is assuming that the Cowboys do not keep him.
Right.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
I don't think Dak's that old. I think he's like 27, 28.
27, 28, I believe.
Yeah,
He's still got plenty left
Um,
in his prime.
that's something that's a new one. I wouldn't be opposed to that. To me, though, I really do believe that if you have the number 1 pick and you trade down, I think you should draft Trevor Lawrence.
Right. This is, I mean, but if you
I
get word that Dak is coming,
yeah.
why would you do that?
Yeah, I can't. I don't really know how. I don't know how I'd feel. At the moment, I might feel different, but for now, I just think that if you're going to start over, I just don't think Dak's the option. I think you just got to rebuild, just build around Trevor Lawrence. And I like Trevor Lawrence. I do a lot, but I just don't know. Like, you're starting to see with Watson now that, and people go off on Bill O'Brien. I know Bill O'Brien's going to take a lot of slack.
Yeah.
But he was a bad GM. He was. He wasn't the worst coach, though.
Only because Adam Gase existed. But yeah, no, he wasn't a bad coach when he was just the coach. He wasn't terrible.
He helped. He was very crucial in Watson's development, even though Watson was good. And another thing, you're starting to see this year that Watson does not look as special without Hopkins, which is why I think that having that number 1 receiver is so crucial for someone so young. Because quarterbacks like Watson and Darnold and guys who like to, and Mahomes, guys who like to.
Now look at Kyler.
Guys who like to they're not like running quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, but
rollout quarterbacks.
They have happy feet. And at the end of the day, those guys, I've come to the conclusion with a lot of those quarterbacks, they're going to throw interceptions. But at the same time, they're going to make special plays. You just want to limit those
Brett Favre.
and be able to make more special plays. And with the right coach and with the right system, you saw with Houston, Deshaun Watson was making special plays all over the field. He was throwing 30 touchdowns, 7 picks. He already has like 6 or 7 picks this year.
They were up 28-3 or whatever it was, 24-0 on Kansas City, on the Super Bowl champion.
And this is.
You tell me they don't beat Tennessee in the next round?
I think they do.
They would be in the Super Bowl if they could hold the lead against Kansas City.
Especially with guys who come out of big schools, guys like Tua and Clemson quarterbacks and Alabama quarterbacks. You have to put, like, they come from places where they are given everything.
Yeah.
And then even though Burrow has been pretty good.
I mean, Kyler was in the best offense that we've seen maybe even ever. Not ever, but up there with the greatest offenses that we've seen in the past decade. He's great. He's an MVP candidate soon, in my opinion.
And I know people are going to say, well, Joe Burrow's in Cincinnati. And Joe Burrow also had some decent receivers.
He's looked great, and he's played 4 games, and he's playing in Cincinnati. Justin Herbert's playing for Oregon, the biggest Pac-12 school. He looks fine. I mean, the quarterbacks are fine. But the thing with the Jets, and I see Nico's a little frozen at the moment, so I'll just go on my spiel. The Jets need to get a quarterback. Do you build with a youth quarterback? Do you build with an older quarterback? It's something else. I think we cut out here, but we're fine. We're looking great. We're feeling good. And you build these big school quarterbacks, but you have Trevor Lawrence. They all look good. None of them look bad besides Baker Mayfield for a bit, and Baker Mayfield's looked fine.
And Baker Mayfield's starting to come around now. Think about the Browns. They've built their team. They gave them receivers. They gave them tight ends, which is what you're supposed to do. Yeah,
they're doing everything right, Cleveland.
So the Jets need to take – I said this. I was talking to one of my friends, both pretty diehard Jet fans.
Yeah.
We were saying the Jets need to open a notebook and go back to the day that they drafted Darnold, when Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Mayfield were drafted. More Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. And take down every transaction/move that the Bills and the Ravens have done to build around their young quarterbacks, and then come back and you do that with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do.
That's fair. It's also assuming you get it. I mean, look at Atlanta right now. Look at the Giants right now.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of this is based on the Jets getting the number 1 pick in the draft.
Which is why I don't think they're moving Darnold. The only thing with the Jets is if they go 0-16 and the Giants and the Falcons go 0-16, they will not get the number 1 pick because of their strength of schedule.
Right.
Which is why I do not think they're moving Darnold until the offseason. Because they are going to stick with Darnold if they
don't get the number 1 pick. Justin Fields, the North Dakota State quarterback aside, doesn't matter.
They better keep this number 1 pick stuff quiet because they might not get the number 1 pick, but then Darnold comes out and says, I don't want to be here no more because you didn't want me.
Yeah. You also don't forget, like, Trevor Lawrence could pull an Eli Manning.
Yes.
If he really could.
I don't think he will.
He doesn't seem like the guy. Actually, I feel, no, he might. I can see him doing that. If the Jets get the number 1 pick, Trevor Lawrence, I think he will pull an Eli Manning. I really do.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, it depends on who the coach is. Because if it's a good coach, then they're like, okay, maybe.
I don't even think it'll matter. I really don't think it. I mean, maybe if they sign Bieniemy, maybe if they sign that Tennessee guy you're talking about, maybe.
I
But
think the coach matters.
yeah, the coach does matter. But I mean, Trevor Lawrence is all that. He's the best quarterback prospect we've seen since like John Elway and Andrew Luck. So he has all the power at the moment. He has all the leverage because he has so much potential.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Jim Nora. He said that he could be the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football. I mean, that might be a little bit of a stretch to me, but it's very possible because he looks that good. I can't hear you, Nico. Here we go.
They'll screw that one up.
There we go. Yeah, they'll mess it up. Basically, he's just had to screw it up, basically. But it's just Trevor Lawrence, please. I feel like a lot of Jets fans would say, please don't come here. I know you don't welcome him with open arms, but for his potential and the greatness that he could be, if he's with the Jets, it's not going to be everything that it can be. I want to see him in a Saints jersey.
Maybe Chris Johnson opens his eyes.
Yeah. I want to see him in a Saints jersey. I want to see him in a Buccaneers jersey. I want to see him in a Giants jersey. I don't think, maybe not even a Giants jersey, but personally, I want to see him in a Colts jersey. You know, that's what I want to see, obviously, but I think that's the best fit for him. So if my idea for this year was take Phillip Rivers and then trade everything that you have at whoever has the number one pick and get Trevor Lawrence, and the Colts would be set for the next decade. I think it's likely. I think it's very possible that the Colts end up trading that number one pick, especially if it's the Jets. The Jets have done that before with the Colts trading up to get Sam Darnold. Come full circle, the Colts trade up with the Jets to get Trevor Lawrence. But we will see what happens, Nico. Anything else to add? I mean, you can go.
All I'm going to say is for all my Jet fans, stay
strong.
Stay strong and just, take a deep breath and just know that Adam Gase, hopefully, we pray, I have the cross behind me, that Adam Gase will be fine. But I'm with you. We're all together.
You're all together as Jets fans. I'm with you guys. I'm not a Jets fan, but I am with you.
We have our fellow outside fans who feel
I will be supporting you through and through because I want to see a team succeed in the state of New Jersey. But I mean, it's a time. Also, shout out to Nick Saban. He had a third negative COVID test. He will coach against Georgia tonight. I'm ready for that game. We're gonna go watch that game later. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Unlike being a Jets fan, I had to give you some positivity.
Yeah,
okay, I had to give you some positivity.
Maybe we never thought the Wilpons would sell the Mets. Maybe Steve Cohen will come in and buy the Jets too.
Maybe A-Rod says, you know what? Yes. I'm not buying the Mets. I'm buying the Jets. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, that's my favorite phrase on this show. We'll see what happens because that's all you can really say. It's all speculation at the end of the day. Thank you, Nico, for coming on the show for your therapy session. I hope you feel a little bit better. I feel better about the Jets. Yeah. Not really. I feel better about we can laugh about it. That's comedy. That's how this works. Laugh about what makes you cry. Anyway, we will see you later again, Nico. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you all for watching. We will see you another time.